Super Bowl 55, we talk dynasty. All right, we're talking dynasty. Is it too early for it to be a dynasty conversation if Pat Mahomes and Kansas City wins this game, or is it legitimized if they win, guys?
Man, you got a quarterback that could possibly win his second Super Bowl within 3 years of starting. Dynasty is no question. If they're fortunate enough to win this game tomorrow, it's the beginning of a dynasty. You win, you playing 2 Super Bowls, you win both of them. Oh, 100%. A dynasty is on its way if the Kansas City Chiefs win tomorrow.
If they do go out and win this game tomorrow, I don't think that it's too early that you can say that the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid are in the beginning stages of a dynasty. Like you say, 2 Super Bowls in the first 3 years. And, the eye test just tells us what we have seen from Patrick Mahomes over the first 3 years. He's not normal. He's something that we have never seen before from the position, and what he's doing and how he's going about his task has been nothing less than exceptional. And after you win, if you win this second Super Bowl, you know that you have your guy. You know that you have a franchise quarterback. So now all you have to do from an organizational standpoint is to continue to build around him. You go out and find you a stellar defense. Get you some corners, guys who can cover man to man. If you get a defense in Kansas City that can hold an opponent to 17 to 20, 21 points a game, I'm just saying Kansas City will probably average 14, 15 wins a season with the amount of points that they are able to score on Sundays. So they go out and win this game tomorrow. Everybody's going to start talking dynasty. Everybody is already talking about Patrick Mahomes being the top 10 quarterback. And now all you have to do is really build around him, because he is the organizational foundation of this team. And we'll wait to see what happens, because he's going up against the GOAT.
Mm-hmm. T.
It's for me. Pat Mahomes he's doing something we've never seen before. We've seen it with Brady, but it was that defense. Brady was kind of finding his way. Mahomes is the reason. He's the reason. And if they can pull that off and beat the Bucs tomorrow, the Chiefs it's gonna look scary. It's almost gonna look like the Bulls of the 90s, Golden State of some years back, talking the NBA. It's gonna be one of those things where everybody now is going to change how they scout, how they draft, because they're going to mimic the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get these little fast receivers. Let's get a tight end that can run routes like a receiver. Let's see if we can get a mobile quarterback with a cannon arm. They don't come a dime a dozen, so it's not going to be easy to find. But everybody is going to try to change the way they go about drafting and scouting players, because they're going to try to mimic the Chiefs. And so that's what Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid and Brett Veach, that's what they have on the line here. Win this Super Bowl and watch the NFL copycat.
I do think that you can start the conversation of dynasty, and the reason why you can is because they're showing their greatness. Knowing how difficult it is just to make it to the playoffs, for one. But then when you win the Super Bowl, and, every year, immediately, when you guys won the Super Bowl, Plex, what's the first thing they said? Can Eli do it again? It's like it's always the next question right after a person wins the Super Bowl for the first time, or even if it's the next time that they win it, can they get it again? What's the likelihood? What's the probability of them being able to do it the upcoming season? It's interesting because it's a lot of football. If you think about how much football you have to play to create a dynasty, it's a lot. It's a lot of mileage. And looking at where this Kansas City Chiefs team is currently today, what was proven to me this year is that they can take teams' best shots, and even when they're not playing as well as they could possibly play, they're still that much better than the other teams where they can still win the games. You know, the season that they won their first Super Bowl, they were spotting teams points, like a lot of points, and was just walking them down. They come out, if they win this game tomorrow, I think you have to continue to have the conversation of them being a team that can win and create a dynasty for the simple fact that their coaching staff has not been tremendously disrupted. They haven't been poached for coaches to go other places. You know, the whole Eric Bieniemy conversation is a big conversation, but the longer he stays there, you'd have to assume the better they're going to be. You look at the players, and you guys talked about it. When you start having that amount of success and you find that type of rhythm as to what it is that you're doing, what people fail to understand is not only is it hard to find and replicate the players that you bring in, it's hard to find and replicate the culture that has to go with that mindset of being a champion and being a champion over and over again. What does that look like, right? People can't explain those things. Like when you talk about that Giant, I can talk about the culture of that Giants team that won in that Super Bowl that you were in because I was on the team the year before. The culture was we loved each other. You know, the identity, the movement. We walking around downtown New York almost getting into fights with other dudes from other teams because we telling them right then and there we're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, this going to be our year. You know, and different things like that. And that went into the way we prepared. It went into our mindset. So I don't think it's too early to talk about them being a dynasty because obviously their mindset and their mentality as a team has been so strong that it's carried them to a second Super Bowl in a row. And if they're able to win this one, I just don't see how other teams are going to be able to catch up quick enough before they get maybe one or two more under their belt.
Man, they're going to invest in that defensive line and see if we can pressure Mahomes. I mean, that's exactly the only way is you're going to invest in that. And that's what the Raiders have tried to do. They just haven't drafted the right players. But it's easier said than done, man. When you have the firepower that the Kansas City Chiefs, it's firepower. Mm-hmm. They have speed all across the board offensively.
Right.
And then they have Chris Jones in the middle of that defensive line. You can't block him one-on-one. Their corners in the back end now, they're playing well. Tyrann Mathieu does a little bit of everything. The Chiefs have a really good team. They've done a great job of drafting and developing guys. Up front, offensively, and that offensive line is probably where they lack. And anybody has injuries, your best players go down, it's going to put you at a disadvantage. But when you have a QB that's mobile, that kind of helps out a little bit. You can hedge a little bit and do certain things that other teams can't. And so it's what you said. The Chiefs, if they win this game, which I don't know if that's the case because of that Tampa defensive line, but if they do, it's a copycat league. Look out. You're going to see a bunch of 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" receivers that can just flat out go and as quick as all get out getting drafted a lot more.
It's like the guys like myself and Mike Evans and Moss, man. We becoming extinct, man.
Yeah.
You know, we got to find somebody. We becoming extinct. But, I do want to touch on this, though. We talk about how explosive the Kansas City offense has been over the last couple of years. And going back to that playoff game against the Houston Texans, man, do you know that it was down 28-0 in the first quarter? Mm-hmm. And I believe that game for them, as far as a mindset, it completely made them believe that, you know what, we can win every game that we step out on the football field. We can go out and score 28 unanswered points and win a football game down 28-0. If you're up 28-0 on an opposing team, like you turn out the lights, it's over with. You're not coming back from that. Zero. But ever since that game, they have been virtually unstoppable. And you talking about building a dynasty, man, in this business in the NFL. In the NFL, man, I believe that it's the hardest sport to win a championship in because, it's not basketball. It's not, 12 or 15 people. I think baseball is behind the NFL as far as how hard it is to win a championship. But in football, man, there's so many intricate pieces and moving parts to have everybody on the same page play in and play out and be in unison at the same time to have success every Sunday. And it's not hard. That's why some of these organizations are still some of the worst organizations in sports, because, like TJ said, they don't do their due diligence in scouting and drafting the right players. But you can't mimic what Patrick Mahomes is doing. You can try to replicate it or create it. But I do believe what TJ just said. I said a couple weeks ago, the college game is becoming the NFL game. The receivers are getting shorter, faster, quicker, and I think that is going to be the evolution of football looking forward. And the game that we once knew it as seven-step drop back, sitting in the pocket. Those days are behind us, and we're watching basically the evolution of football through Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, the players that they have on their team.
I'm going to tell you what's interesting, though. Plaxico Burresses are going to have to start becoming tight ends then, right? Because, look at Kelsey. Kelsey is a receiver at tight end, and that has always been the trend in Kansas City. I mean, Tony Gonzalez was the same type of player when he was there. I just wonder if we're talking about the evolution based off of this dynasty and what it's creating, if it becomes one, then you would have to believe that it's going to impact and affect the entirety of the league, because now if you do have a Plaxico Burress or a Travis Kelce on your team, if they can go out there and catch the ball and run routes, you're going to have to naturally figure out what's the balance between the running game and the passing game, because now you got to start thinking, okay, I got to try to get faster defensive linemen. I don't need anchor defensive linemen so much because they won't get there in time enough to impact the play. Then you start thinking about the linebackers, right? Now you got to get smaller, faster, more coverage-driven linebackers than you do more infantry where they're able to plug gaps and stop the run and create a stout defensive front. And then now your secondary has to become smaller, quicker, faster. It's interesting to think that the evolution of what Andy Reid has created in Kansas City could actually change and evolve the entire, and not to mention, by the way, the rules changes as well, because obviously if you could be physical with these guys, you could beat them up, and there might be a difference there. But it's interesting to see how this may play out. I think that we all agree that dynasty makes sense if they are able to win. So